With important news from that Georgia grand jury report today, our next guest says we cannot forget how close we came to a coup. Philip Bump of the Washington Post points out that with an eye on 2024, Donald Trump is again trying to whitewash January 6th. With us for more, historian Jon Meacham. He is the Rogers Chair in the American Presidency at Vanderbilt University, occasionally advises President Biden on historical matters and major speeches. He is also the author of And There Was Light, Abraham Lincoln and the American Struggle, which is out now. Jon Meacham in the flesh. Thank you. Thanks for staying up late for me. So I know you are worried about this. How worried are you?
The issue is going to be, does an attempted coup against the Constitution become just another talking point? Just another thing? Well, the fake news, they're trying to tell you this is important. It's not. They're martyrs. They were just really angry people. And I think one of the things we have to watch is as Trump continues to run again, you have NBC polling, I think that's NBC's reporting polling, but he's stronger than the chattering class has wanted him to be. We just have to be incredibly vigilant to understand that Mike Pence stood between us and the abyss. And now, if you do what I do for a living, you always want people to think about the past, but this isn't all that far back. And I just hope that we don't turn the page so quickly, we don't click on the next screen so quickly, that we forget how an appetite for power of a single person, a single party, really did almost end a democratic lowercase d conversation.
The question I always circle back to is, won't it take Republicans, potentially in this case, Republicans who are running for that office, to articulate that truth? And it brings me to my secondary question, which is, I actually don't think there are a lot of moments in history where one can demonstrate a profile in courage. And this seems like such a ripe moment for that, right? Where it's like, maybe you won't get reelected. Maybe you'll, get a lot of hell on Twitter for 6 months. Doesn't that seem worth history remembering you as one of the greats?
I certainly think so. I think Liz Cheney has done that, but she is now former representative. And a politician's unit of commerce, by and large, is reelection. Michael Bloomberg once said the three things politicians most want is reelection, number two is reelection, and three is a big reelection, right? I mean, that's where we are. I think the only amendment I'd make to what you said is there needs to be people speaking out against this in the Republican field. I fear that the only way to make this point is to defeat Republicans who won't. And I never thought I'd be in a position of saying voting for one party or the other is crucial to the survival of the constitutional order. But I continue to believe in this moment that voting for the Democratic Party is a vote for democracy, lowercase d. The Democratic Party could lose its mind at some point, but as of tonight, it hasn't. The arguments that people have with the Democrats are recognizable American arguments about the relative role of the state in the marketplace, about the projection of force against commonly agreed upon foes and rivals. That's all a recognizable conversation and covenant. What Trump Republicans are doing is not recognizable. Even during the Civil War, people didn't storm the Capitol in this way. And you really can't, to paraphrase George W. Bush, you can't overestimate the significance of this, right?
Mitt Romney warned yesterday Trump is by far the most likely Republican nominee. I know you've seen that polling. Do you think that's right?
Yeah, I do. I live in Tennessee, so when I say I have conservative friends, that's redundant. I think so. I think people convince themselves of what they want to do anyway, right? And one of the things that has puzzled me about the last year and a half, and continues to, but keep working on it. You mentioned I help President Biden when I can, is trying to argue that President Biden is somehow outside the mainstream of American politics is just crazy. And I understand why people say it, because they want a Republican order, but they have not managed to separate a Republican agenda from Donald Trump. And you just can't have it both ways. This is not a moment where you can. And to your point, Lord, wouldn't you want to be in X number of years, Liz Cheney, to go back to the McCarthy era, do you want to be McCarthy or do you want to be Margaret Chase Smith, who stood up against him 4 years before he was censured?
Right, because you can want reelection, a big reelection that's fundamentally a proxy for power, but then you actually have to want that power to do something with it, not power for the sake of power.
That's the moral question about politics. And I'm not asking for people to be virtuous. I'm just asking for people to have an essential moral core, which, as Lincoln would say, is a devotion to the Declaration of Independence.
I may be asking people to be virtuous. I saw another story today that I want to talk to you about, which was...
I will have more success
yes.
by not asking people.
Agreed.
Okay.
You saw the news about John Fetterman, checking himself in, needing to head out. I thought this was so interesting, and for you to talk to you about it as a presidential historian, because there have been a number of leaders throughout time. I think about Lincoln and the mental health struggles Lincoln went through that fundamentally made him who he was as a leader. And so the idea of a leader saying this publicly, disclosing this publicly, I think it is a great service. And I think it even has the capacity to be a paradigm shift.
Amen. 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 Absolutely. Winston Churchill suffered pretty clearly from depression. He treated it by painting and with Johnny Walker, which is not prescribed mostly anymore. But it's, there's a kind of genius that a kind of political being that goes to great highs and great lows. And I don't know Senator Fetterman, but I wish him all the best. There's nothing more debilitating than what William Styron called darkness visible. And so I think we should hope for his recovery. And I hope you're exactly right that there's a destigmatization.
Jon Meacham, thank you so much for being with me.
Thank you.
Such a treat.